Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday and today we have heard some very interesting lectures and discussions. I hope you have found him very inspirational, and now we are moving to a different part of our symposium. This is a part of our conference which one can say belongs to you. The presentations we will hear are not only an opportunity to learn from others, but also to get to know each other, to learn about projects, institutions in other countries. And the main aim of this part of symposium is exchange and establishing new contacts. And my name is Dominic Pick, and I will moderate this part. What are two of our presentations? Each presentation is very, very short, up to 80 seconds. In 1 hour, we will have 22 different speakers, so please concentrate on those presentations. During the presentations, there is no time for discussion or questions. That's quite important. Additional information, so the name of the speaker, email, website, and a short description of the presentation you will find in the reader you have in your folders. That's this reader. All presentations are in here. If you have any further questions about the presentation, please ask them to the speakers after we finish the presentation. So during the breaks, we will have lunch after that, and that will be the perfect time to discuss face-to-face about the presentation or institutions. The reader is divided in 4 parts. As you can see, we have a section for sections: Nazi victims, communism, and other dictatorships, civil society, and culture. However, that's only for the sake of some logistical reasons, and you can easily see that some presentations could be easily put into different sections. And now, please let me explain how we will proceed. Presentations will take place in order mentioned in the reader. So first will be Mr. András Sipos with the presentation, Holocaust Memorial Year in Budapest City Archives, and then Neringa Latviete Pustaitiene with the presentation about Vilna Gaunce Jewish Museum. If I misspell some of your names, please feel free to correct me. You are from so many countries that it's very easy to make a mistake. Now I would like to ask the 2 first persons who come here to me, and before each presentation I will shortly introduce the speaker, and when the first presentation is ready, I would like to ask the 3rd person to come here and stay here with me, and so we can switch swiftly. So one person is always waiting for her or his turn. So, Mr. Sipos?
Thank you very much for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, what can city archives do in a social and political environment in which Hungarian participation in World War II and Hungarian responsibility are hotly debated issues in society and politics, and seem to be more and more divisive? What we do is we try to concentrate in our project evoking the Holocaust last year on the experiences on personal level, on a family level, on small community level. This approach is supported by the composition of our holdings. So we try to show through bulk of documents in exhibitions and website what happened within the walls of tenement houses, what happened at workplaces, schools, etc., in everyday human relations. We are convinced that this type of knowledge gives real orientation even to the newer generation in our past, which frequently seems to be chaotic and ambiguous for them. My time runs out very soon, so I can tell more about that on a personal level. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Of course, I forgot to introduce Mr. Sipos. His archive is a history from Budapest City Archive in Hungary, and the head of one of the departments responsible for special collections and for public administration documents before 1950. Now, we will have a presentation from Neriga Latvietiene. She is a historian and curator from the State Jewish Museum in Vilna, Lithuania, currently head of research department, and she will present the museum and realized projects.
Yeah, today I'm here to present the Vilna Gaon Jewish State Museum as competent and experienced partner, which is proud to work together with honored academic institutions not only in Lithuania but also in abroad, such as IRA, United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and Yad Vashem, for common goals of preserving Jewish heritage, providing researches, preparing exhibitions. The museum also works in partnership to share good practice and knowledge with local communities, cultural centers, educational institutions, and non-governmental organizations. And over 17 years, the museum carries out volunteer program with Gdańsk organization in Vienna. Since 2011, museum has two very successfully ongoing virtual database projects, Holocaust Names and Holocaust Atlas, both contributed not only by local communities and local archives, but also by partners from abroad. And finishing up, I would like to say that all these activities were possible and are possible only because of dedicated, experienced, and passionate museums experts and museum staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The third presentation takes us to the German extermination camp in Auschwitz. Mr. Topf, sind Sie bereit? Ja? Mr. Hartmut Topf is a freelance journalist and broadcaster, and he will present an example about relations between Nazi crimes and German industry. And I would like to ask Ms. Eva Sobotka to come here because we can then switch swiftly after that.
Well, I'm here. I'm a journalist, retired. I'm 81 now. But I helped to start a civil initiative, a group in Erfurt, to remember what was almost forgotten in East Germany, that the factory, which was nationalized, once made the crematoria for Auschwitz and many other camps. I inherited the name, nothing else but the name. But the owners of the company were two younger cousins of my father. And in my family, I didn't find many answers. But I found that my name didn't sound well in Auschwitz. When I presented myself, I've been told, your name doesn't sound well here. I said, well, it's the reason of my visit. And I started this group in Erfurt. I had a lot of good partners, trade unions, churches, Antifa organizations. And finally, we had to convince the politicians to allow it, and we were able to save the building. And now it's working this 4 years, and even won an award as the best museum. So if you come to Erfurt, see the permanent exhibition. But first was 4 years or even more of very good research work done by Annegret Schüle. She's now the director. She was based for some time in Buchenwald. She did the work, published a big book, and the exhibition was invited to the Berlin Jewish Museum, which was really a great recognition. So then the exhibition toured through many towns in Germany. It was also in Mauthausen, in Mechelen, in Belgium, in Copenhagen, and it's still available. Will be for smaller places, but come to Erfurt and see it, and you find our website, topfundsöhne.de. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eva Sobotka is a human rights expert from the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights, and she will speak about much more current situation, education about Holocaust. And the next person will be Jaroslav Vanus.
Hello to everybody. The Agency for Fundamental Rights is an EU agency. Mandate is to provide member states and EU institutions with data and advice on fundamental rights issues. We have selected and picked learning from the past for raising awareness of human rights today. Approximately in 2005-2006, we have looked at the lessons from the Holocaust that could be brought to contemporary youth and generations in relation to human rights situation. First of all, we have published research that informed policymakers and funding institutes about the current role that visits to memorial sites and museums can contribute and to school education and education about human rights. Subsequently, in partnership with Yad Vashem, we had developed a toolkit for teachers that helped them to create lessons, interactive lessons using human rights education methodology and approaches, how to teach about the Holocaust and human rights at the same time. And our last, most recent deliverable of this project, Holocaust Human Rights Education Project, is a toolkit for EU public officials to raise their awareness about the lessons of the Holocaust and help them to address their everyday issues in their work. So websites are available, also direct links to the toolkits. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jaroslav Valnius is a historian from the public association The Forgotten Ones, and he will present a project of a Jewish museum in Prague, Venice Neighbors.
Ladies and gentlemen, just for make sure, I'm here on behalf of the Forgotten Ones Civic Association, which is actually only supporting the project Venice Neighbors. We are doing also another projects regarding the 1950s in Czechoslovakia, regarding the communist past in Czechoslovakia. And we are focused on non-formal education. We are doing some exhibitions. We know the value of individual life story, and we are trying to focus students' work to collect the individual life stories and to present them to their classmates, to another students at schools in the Czech Republic. We are also students are trying to find in our projects the stories that used to be already forgotten. So it's quite a new experience for them, because they have the raw material, the raw life story, and so they then make a exhibition panel and present it to other students. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to introduce Richelle Boot-Kaplan, Director of the European Department of International School for Holocaust Studies at the Yad Vashem. And one comment from myself, you can think that it is no need to present Yad Vashem here, because all of you know the institution, but I'm sure the activities of Yad Vashem are so broad that everyone can learn something new about that. So Richelle, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dominic. I'm here to represent an educational campus, both, of course, on site, on the Mountain of Remembrance in Jerusalem, as well as, of course, www.yadvashem.org. We're an archive, a research center, museum, data systems, and of course, I come from the school. It's a magnet school. We have faculty who are experts in pedagogy, on methodology, not only to talk about the subject, but how to teach it, how to help empower teachers on how to teach about the Shoah. Our programming is tailor-made. We conduct outreach, of course, in countries and not only on site, including workshops, e-learning, video conferences. We invest in our network of educators, enrichment programming, conferences, materials in various languages, a school network pilot program. We also work not only bilaterally with 40 countries, but also multilaterally, as you heard, with IRA, OSCE, the Fundamental Rights Agency, the Council of Europe, UNESCO, und so weiter. Partnership and dialogue are obviously key. If someone would like to, and this is an open invitation, to learn more, please see me during the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. And next presentation brings us back to Prague. Teresa Stepkova will present the Terezin Initiative Institute.
Thank you very much. Terezin Initiative Institute, Prague, founded by Holocaust survivors after 1989 to document, research, and support education on Holocaust, continues in this work with the database of Holocaust victims with more than 170,000 records online, more than 400,000 digitized personal documents till now, and records and relevant documents connected to the historical context on Holocaust TZ website. After 20 years, we are opening new topics of Holocaust, Shoah, genocide, and human rights studies, Roma's genocide, forced labor, memory studies, and so on. Also, we are looking for the new ways of education and discussion these themes with youth through methods of critical thinking, open dialogue, and facing history and ourselves in teacher trainings and youth programs. Thank you very much for your attention.
Now we are coming to Germany, and Johannes Ibel, Head of Historical Department and Curator, will present development of the Flossenburg concentration camp memorial during the last decade. And I have to say that's a very interesting example of a memorial site which is really changing.
80 seconds. For 15 years, well, 15 years, the Flossenburg Memorial needed to redevelop some of the invisible structures of the former concentration camps. So today, behind the impressive SS headquarter building, you can recognize the camp fence line and the camp's gate, the positions of the barracks, and the roll call square. You can visit an exhibition about the camp's history or another exhibition about the aftermath. A new education center just is to be opened in the former SS canteen, and we are offering more educational programs and seminars and an archival database which is focusing on the prisoners, of course, and which is open for other institutions which can add their information, data files as they want and edit them to put pieces together for common work. That's it.
Thank you very much. The last presentation in this section is a presentation of Sabine Stadler, currently a freelance social scientist from Vienna. And Sabine will speak about the Austrian Black Cross and the Victim Data Bank on Roma in Burgenland in Austria.
The Austrian Black Cross and the Victim Data Bank on the Roma. The Austrian Black Cross is an association founded in 1990 in the framework of the Treaty of Saint-Germain, which forced Austria to the care of the graves of Austrian soldiers after the First World War. This remained till 1938, when the Austrian Black Cross was dissoluted. After the Second World War, the Black Cross was found again and got its law in 1948 for the care of graves, graveyards, etc., which was accomplished in 1955 by the Austrian State Treaty in Part 2, Article 19, which forces Austria to take care for the graves and graveyards of Austrian soldiers and foreign soldiers on Austrian territory. The organization is run by 9 federal offices and is located in the General Secretariat in Vienna, Boltzeile 9, and is currently headed by Oberst Barthou, who is a former officer of the Gendarmerie. The administrative body is the Ministry of Interior, headed by the Minister Dr. Mikkel Leitner. The Black Cross is a very large institution which publishes a journal on the travels to Russia and Eastern Europe. It's mostly of the graves are from Russia, Ukraine, Poland, and Italy. The documentation of the Black Cross is a calendarium of all graves in Austria and abroad in care of the Black Cross. A scientist from the Institute of Professor Kahner called Ingenieur Sixel published 2 years ago a huge volume, a Gedenkbuch, on 204,000 named Russians, who are buried in Austria, and who received for his 2 volumes the highest medal of a foreigner who can achieve this in Russian. The journal informs on the programs for young people, travels abroad, and the research undertaken within the Black Cross. My table shows just the numbers of graves, and you see what I have written. This is the work with Russia. So normally we do not memorize any kind of German soldiers. We gave this back to Germany, and we memorize mostly Russians. And these are the numbers of cemeteries existing in Austria.
Thank you very
last
much.
word is that Burgenland has, for innovation, established a data bank for the Roma victims of the Holocaust. Thank you for your understanding.
Thank you for your presentation. Now we are moving to the second section, and we'll slightly change the topic. We'll also talk about memorial sites and other institutions, but those which are concentrated on communist research or dictatorships in other countries like Spain. Let me introduce Anna Michelsberger, a project coordinator from the German Association of Former Victims of Communist Tyranny. She will present a work of International Association of Former Prisoners and Victims of Communism.
Hello, I'm here to represent the Inter-ESSO. The Inter-ESSO is a non-governmental association located in Berlin, which represents 13 national organizations of victim of organizations of communism. The main activity is to organize international victim congresses in cooperation with other organizations and institutions that are dealing with the communist past. And the main aims of our association is to draw attention on of the European public for the current situation of the victims of communism and their relatives, to achieve a legal rehabilitation and also a moral rehabilitation. Therefore, we show best practice from the countries to build up public pressure and to ameliorate the situation of the victims in the countries. Our mission is also to raise awareness for the dangers of non-democratic ideologies, and especially of the communist ideology against its trivialization.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Vilma Juseviciute. Vilma is a historian. She was she was a head of Department of History Department at the Museum of Genocide Victims, and currently she works for the Genocide and Resistance Research Center of Lithuania, which activities she will present us.
Thank you. I am here to introduce you to the Genocide and Resistance Research Center of Lithuania, and it is the largest organization in Lithuania working in the area of historical research of the 20th century and preservation of the historical memory. Our organization has 140 employees. One of the main fields of our activity is the research of the Soviet and Nazi occupations. We present our research every year at conferences and seminars. We have publishing department and publish books both in Lithuanian and foreign languages. Dissemination of research material is also carried out via traveling exhibitions. Our departmental museum of genocide victims attracts many visitors, and we are proud to say that we are one of the top 10 most visited sites by foreign tourists. We collect a variety of visual and documentary material, as well as oral, written, and video testimonies. One of our priorities is education, and to this end, we have prepared several educational programs for the youth. The center is also involved in the commemoration and marking of historic sites. We are actively seeking to make contacts, establish friendships, and work cooperatively. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we are moving from Central Europe to Eastern Europe to Spain. And next speaker is Jessica San-Román from the Holocaust and Antisemitism Department at Centro Safarat Israel in Madrid, which, as I understand, is closely related to the Spanish Foreign Ministry. And Jessica's presentation has a very interesting topic: Spain, perpetrator, bystander, or rescuer.
So please just allow me just to say a few sentences related to the topic of this conference: winners, losers, perpetrators, victims, bystanders, 70 years after the Second World War. And I would also remember what Martin Pollack said yesterday: wir dürfen unserem Gedächtnis nicht immer trauen, we cannot always trust our memory. The example of Isaac Reva, a Jew from Salonika, Greek Jew from Salonika, when he arrived to Spain in February 1944, he remembered how he was saved by Spanish people and by Spain, and especially by Franco. In his memory and in the memory of his family, it was Franco who saved him from deportation and from the death, as most of the people were confronted from his community in Salonika. So Isaac Reva grew up with his memory, also did his family, and also many people in Spain. Franco saved thousands of Jews. It was only many years later that Isaac Reva found out that it had not been Franco, but it had been a Spanish diplomat in Athens who acted on his own against the orders of his superiors, and with this managed to save a few people from Salonika. So myself, I contributed then to an exhibition called Visas for Freedom with Isaac Reva, which we are now itinerating in many schools. Teachers are working with these exhibitions, and it's actually very interesting also for the pupils to know this story about Spain during the Holocaust. But my question is, can we with this attribute the category of rescue country to Spain, or are we creating a myth? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next presentation will be delivered by Joachim Förster aus Berlin. He will present activities and aims of the German Agency for the Federal Commissioner for the Records of the State Security Services of the former German Democratic Republic. Joachim Förster is a lawyer specialized in transnational justice.
Following the demands of the civil rights movement in the GDR, the idea was to open the files of the Stasi, especially for the victims, without long terms of restrictions. Martin Pollack mentioned this problem yesterday, to make a contemporary reprisal possible. That has been an experiment without precedent, and it was a legal challenge because the personal rights, especially of the victims of the Stasi, have to be strongly protected. After 23 years, we worked out on approximately 7 million applications and still have more than 80,000 a year applications for individual access and further purposes of rehabilitation for press and media and for political education. And the experience made by the accesses to these sensitive records caused international interest and have been contributed to several congresses and debates dealing with the questions of transitional justice. Documents about the Nazi era and the Second World War are an important part of the legacy of the Stasi too, which were closed until 1991, and more than 2,000 applications in this respect for research and media have been worked out until now. Thank you.
Tamara Grise-Petra is our next speaker. She comes from Ljubljana, Slovenia, and is responsible for researches at the Study Center for National Reconciliation. She specialized in the history of Slovenia under the communist regime.
The Study Center for National Reconciliation deals with research of all three totalitarian regimes in Slovenia in 20th century, fascism, Nazism, and communism. And the Study Center carries out a research program entitled Violence of Communist Totalitarianism in Slovenia, 41 to 90, publishes a series entitled Documents and Testimonies and leads the database on political convicts in Slovenia. The communist regime lasted much longer than the others and is less investigated. The purpose of the research program is a scientific research of the fundamental features of the communist system on the Slovenian territory. The communist regime in Slovenia came to power in 1945 through a revolution that had begun already in 1941, causing a bloody civil war. And in the time immediately after the war, over 100,000 people of different nationalities were murdered on Slovenian ground. Over 620, the so-called hidden graves in Slovenia were till now discovered. Of course, the study center also cooperates with the educational institutes and publishes different books and organizes lectures and conferences and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last presentation in this section takes us away to Kazakhstan. I'm very glad we have participants not only from Europe but also from other countries, from other continents. Satar Mazidov is a professor specialized among other things in the memory studies and oral history, and he will present how the International Institute for Integration of Socio-Humanitarian Researchers, Intellect Order, operates.
Guten Tag, meine lieben Damen und Herren. The main aim of the institution is integration of international researchers of socio-humanitarian sphere. Our work is directed in assistance on interaction, scholars on interdisciplinary studies. The institute has expert council and invites experts on basis of outsourcing. At present, Institute studies the problems of historical memory of the Second World War. We are preparing a book about Kazakhstani heroes in 2 volumes, which is issued in September. We are consulting the documentary film about Kazakhstani heroes and the official internet site, Kaharman KZ, Translated Heroes KZ. Especially, we are interested in memories about the Second World War. The publication of Institute are demanded in high-rated journals. Thank you for your kind attention and welcome to Kazakhstan.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Jovana Mastilovic, a project manager from the Center for History, Democracy and Reconciliation in Novi Sad, Serbia. The topic of her presentation is confronting the past for a better future. With this presentation, we will start the next section of the presentation titled Civil Society. However, as you have already noticed, many of the previous presentations came from persons working for civil society institutions in this broad sense. Please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon and welcome on behalf of the Center for History, Democracy and Reconciliation, which was established in 2007 at the Leopoldschlossraum in Salzburg, Austria. So it is wonderful to be in our home country. The center also works in accordance with the Historical Alliance for Dialogue and Accountability. Our projects assist in dismantling nationalist ideological processes of the past 2 decades, as well as fostering cooperation among individuals and groups. The center has brought together young scholars and politicians from the region under the project Croatian and Serbian Relations in the 20th Century, and has also organized the summer school, Genocide and Holocaust in the Balkans, Impact on Regional Stability Policy. The center works with history teachers to promote intercultural education and provide for the protection of national minorities. Media promotion and documentary films are some of the most important aspects of our work, as well as close contact with European Union institutions. In the upcoming years, the center has decided to focus on World War II, the socialist period, the disintegration of Yugoslavia, as well as the reconciliation process conceding these periods, as they are the most important dividing points for reconciliation in our region. Here I have a copy of our journal, and the rest of our publications concerning Holocaust education can be found online. Thank you very much.
Giulia Perini is a Euro project manager at Association Civism and Democracy, where she is supporting the national contact point on the European Commission program Europe for Citizens. I hope everyone knows what the national contact points are responsible for. If not, please use the break and ask the question to Giulia.
So CDEM, Association Civism and Democracy, is our research center promoting active citizenship at both the national and the European levels. And concerning the European level, it has been since 2008 the national contact point for the European Commission program Europe for Citizens, which, as you may probably know, funds projects dealing with the European remembrance and democratic and civic participation. So the European Remembrance Trends, in particular, supports projects which analyze the causes of totalitarian regimes and which pay homage to their victims, but also projects having to do with fundamental moments of the recent European history, like the fall of the Berlin Wall, or promoting tolerance, reconciliation and mutual understanding. So CDEM exactly has all the other national contact points in almost existing in almost every EU country, provide eligible applicants with information on the program and with direct advice and support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Anne Segelke. It's not here. Okay, so you have to skip the next presentation. You have a short description in the reader. Oh, no, you are here. Okay. No, that's the Michał Dragomir from the Minorities Association. Michał will present a project of historical film festival in Transylvania. I suppose that would be one extra reason to visit Transylvania, which is really nice place to spend some time, especially if there is some cultural festival.
So it's not about Dracula. I'm the executive director of the festival. So since 2009, we develop a cultural project, a high quality and successful project in Romania. And each edition is focusing on important historical events for a better understanding of why and what was happening, and also it is happening. We don't have a red carpet, we don't have famous stars, so we have only good ingredients, relevant ingredients. I mean, documentaries and featured movies. We have lectures and debates, exhibition, concerts, books, and a summer school for students. So 10 days in a 14th century fortress, so you can see, surrounded by Carpathian mountains and a nice and cozy medieval town. We have a good infrastructure there and also an experienced team. So I invite you to join us, to join our project and also to present your content starting with 2016 edition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now the next speaker is Wojciech Przybylski, editor-in-chief of Eurozine. His presentation, Europe at Your Fingertips, about the Eurozine magazine, and what is exactly we will hear shortly.
Hello, welcome. Eurozine is a network of cultural journals that existed here with the editorial office here in Vienna for about 30 years. It gathers some of the best European journals, most of them actually, some 80 partner journals contribute to a platform of creating European public sphere. One of the topics that could be of your interest specifically, one of the focal points that Eurozine runs, is history and politics of memory. 2008 conference gathering each year these partners have in Lithuania. 2008 conference was in Lithuania. It happens every year in each other country of the European continent. This was on politics of memory, and it initiated a series of discussions across Europe with various translations and perspectives on how history and memory is being constructed, abused, used, and told in particular national contexts. But this is not only about historical debate on history and a vast archive of Eurozine that you can look through, but more up-to-date discussion. In just this Friday, we published Timothy Snyder's first, we are very often first to publish Timothy Snyder's pieces. This was on why Hitler was Stalin's ally, a piece that was a long article that was then translated and used as an op-ed in various European media, and created a timely reference point for the commemorations both around Europe and in Moscow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Jaroslav Valenta is the managing editor of Historiska Review from Slovakia, and he will present his monthly magazine, and if I'm correct, a project as well. History like a big team, 1945 like a big transfer.
Yes, well, in this short moment, I'll try to present our work, especially the last title of our magazine, the theme of year 1945, because this conference is also about this big theme. It could be useful for all us to provide this information. We think this year is a big theme not only for a war itself, or could be said war campaign, but maybe this number of our magazine could be mean as a result of a Middle and Eastern European perspective, because for the countries of this part of continent, this year didn't mean only the end of the war, but also the big transfer. Firstly, transfer of millions of people according to the new borders and new political conditions, but there had the place some another transfer. It could be said also transformation from one regime to another, from Nazi occupation to communism. Another point of view and of the articles also is the question of justice. And again, not only the famous Nuremberg trials, but we've presented also spontaneous public trials connected also with another wave of violence with local or against local enemies, ethnic Germans, collaborators, and others. So I hope we provided a good perspective, maybe the Middle European perspective, and answer of the question, what did mean the year 1945? So if you have any questions to me, I will be happy to answer it. Thank you very much.
Last but not least, Olympia Dragoni would like to present two faculties of two Polish universities, one of the Warsaw University and one of the university in Poznań.
No. It's an NGO, but I'm going to tell you.
NGO, okay.
Yes, as a researcher based at the Faculty of Liberal Arts in Warsaw, I'm currently researching Christian-Muslim-Jewish relations from the perspective of Islamic theology and how war, including Bosnian genocide, influenced it. At the Faculty of Liberal Arts, we're provided with individualized curricula. The faculty also conducts international research on subjects of identity and memory. I invite you to the website. And there I had a pleasure to participate in a project which brought together scholars on Macedonia, which brought together scholars from Balkan region, including Macedonians, Albanians, and Greeks, which is not a very common intellectual reconciliation for the region. And in a similar spirit, my NGO, Balkanistika, which tries to inform about the Balkans in Poland, is presenting particular perspectives of countries which seem to be contradictory, but altogether they form a probably most full image of entangled past and presence. We want to bring this perspective through projects back to Balkans and to non-Balkan countries to show the universality of conflicted memory perspectives. And whoever is interested, maybe you, we invite you. Thank you very much.